This is awesome. Okay, so welcome to our call today. The topic of this call, this is our first code in the Feminine Body Beauty Codes. This is code 1, and the code is self-nurturance. So we're going to talk to you guys today about that. And I'm here with Anya Grace, who is my dear friend and former coach and mentor, who had a massive impact on shaping who I am today and helping me heal in so many ways. I originally started going to see her for relationship stuff, and then it just turned into this whole beautiful life transformation. And I did heal my wounds around relationships, and I manifested an incredible human being who I share my life with now. And but then as I dove deeper into feminine energy, I realized that it has a huge impact, not just on our relationships, but in every single other area of my life. So when it came to healing my relationship with food, the information that Anya has channeled through her programs and through her work it's life-changing on a personal level, but it's world-changing on a global level. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work, that every single woman come to experience the freedom that I found. And the cool part is, at the end of the day, total freedom and the result and the result of having a body that I love and that I'm proud of and that I get to enjoy living in every single day. So welcome to our call. Thank you, Anya.
Thank you, Sarah. So happy to have you here. And it's wonderful when Sarah and I decided to launch Feminine Body Beauty into the world on a bigger scale. It was just such a blessing to have her support and expertise as she's gone through this experience and transformation journey. And literally is a genius with this content and information, and has assimilated it, digested it, and is sharing it with the world in ways that I couldn't even dream of. So I feel so lucky to be in this team together and to have her here, and to be partnering with each other for this massive project. So wonderful. And let's see. Yeah. So self-nurturance and self-nourishment is our code, this first code for Feminine Body Beauty. And it's really where Sarah's going to get a lot into some really juicy content with original parenting wounds and attachment wounds. But it's really, when I think back to my journey of healing my relationship with feminine energy and my feminine energy, it's one of the biggest principles of, we live in a society that's mostly masculine programming. That's ultimately one of the essences and aspects of masculine energy is giving, and in a way exerting energy, penetrating energy outward. But as women, we're built to receive and be filled. And so this idea of nurturance and nourishment, of filling ourselves any chance we get, is a massive step in healing our relationship with ourselves and our beauty. And as we design our lives, as we redesign our lives as women, we can really, awaken this goddess life, and say no to the masculine conditioning that tells us to live life in a way where we end up being completely drained, completely out of alignment with our authentic self, and no longer in connection with that goddess energy. So that's kind of where I want to start off, and I'll hand it back to you, Sarah, and have you dive in.
Yeah. So basically what's been coming through for me lately, and part of this is the origin of all of this is everything that I've learned from Anya and through this program and through what we teach. But as I deepen, I picked up this book called The Yoga of Eating, and he has this tiny little short chapter that briefly touches on that birth is our first separation from the one, the mother, the one. It's our first separation and our first feeding, like when you're born and the first attachment to your mother's breast is literally like the first experience you have as being a separate being, and you're back into union through that feeding. So And he really just doesn't go much farther than what happens at birth, and all of the trauma that can happen when immediately we're separated and poked and prodded and weighed and all the things that happen in our traditional medical system, and just kind of the trauma that can cause. But in my opinion, that's really just the beginning, and that has profound implications on the rest of our life and our relationship with food, because it's not just food, it's nurture, it's love, it's our experience of union, and it's our first experience with relationship, with being a separate being in relationship with another being, that gave us life. So the relationship with the mother is a massive amount of importance to us, to all human beings. But it doesn't just stop with birth. It's like, then you get into like having scheduled feedings, like some arbitrary feeding schedule. And like, as you grow, it's like, this food you're allowed and this food you're not allowed. And this is when you have to eat and this is when you're not allowed to eat. And finish your dinner if you want dessert, and eat your broccoli, little kid, or you don't get this. And so it's this whole like programming from a very early age. Or who hasn't experienced having as a kid like food used as a reward or a punishment? Like, if you're good, you get a treat. If you're bad, you don't get a treat, or I'm going to take your treats away, or you're gonna, in like really extreme parenting situations, like, you're gonna go to bed without dinner tonight. I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but it's used as this kind of tool to like shape us and train us and motivate us into obedience. But what is that teaching us? And where is that leading us later in our life, when food isn't just food? It's not just for physical nourishment. It's so much deeper than that. And really what this can bring up for us later in life is, I believe, attachment disorders. Anxious would be like when you binge and when you lose control around food, and like food has this power over you. And avoidant would be when you're, as far as anorexic, like serious eating disorders. And maybe binging and purging is somewhere in like the ambivalent attachment. But it's very interesting, because a lot of the ways that we were taught to go about healing these attachment wounds and these disordered relationship and habits around food is through more restriction. Well, okay, you have a disordered relationship with food, follow this protocol, follow this diet, do this list of things. And it's like the exact opposite of what we actually need to heal. Like, what we need to heal attachment wounds in relationships is a partner who is able to give us above and beyond anything that we need, and to also be able to give ourselves above and beyond anything that we like. An unreasonable amount of love and freedom, I believe, is needed to heal deep attachment wounds. Like, when I met my boyfriend, I was somewhere between anxious and avoidant. Like, if you were anxious, I was avoidant, and if you were avoidant, I was anxious. So probably disorganized. And he gave me he was absolutely available to me, absolutely loving to me, and absolutely gave me my freedom, all of those things. And I needed that to come into a healthy place. And it's the exact same thing with food. We need to allow ourselves so much nourishment, like beyond what we think is reasonable, in order to heal these deep wounds. And it's like, we've got to learn, because as adults, we don't have parents to tell us what we can and can't do and can and can't eat. So we become the parent, and we really do. It's this beautiful opportunity to like reparent ourselves and become the kind of nurturer and the kind of provider and the kind of mother and father figure that we always needed.
So powerful. That is incredible. Thank you, Sarah. Oh my God. Amazing. That was channeling like new stuff we've never talked about before. So powerful. So powerful. What that's igniting in me is a couple things. One, really food being this replacement for love. Like, we can almost just put those two words side by side and see if, what is your relationship with food, and let that inform you what your relationship with love is like.
Yeah.
And when I think of parenting and I think of the way I want to parent and, the ways I was parented and just little tweaks I would probably make, is there's this beautiful, just even part of what creates that healthy attachment style is the child being able to test the boundaries and know that as he's learning to walk, for example, as she's learning to walk, that she can go, perhaps, those early stages of learning independence. The terrible twos are just testing the boundaries and both experiencing the formation of personal will and deciding that I have a personal will separate from you, mom and dad, and I'm going to insert that will, but also I still need you. And are you still there when I need you? And so in this relationship of healing our relationship with food, we are reparenting, perhaps, we get to be the secure attachment. We get to be the parent that is unmoving as that inner child tests the boundaries and walks as far away as they want to. And we have our eye on them so they're not in danger. But we are also projecting onto them, I trust you. You are an individual separate and sovereign from me. You are distinct. And I think talking about mother wounds, that's something that is that the mother archetype gets to take responsibility for, is the codependency of my child as an extension of me. Like they were an extension of you until the umbilical cord was cut. And now they are separate and we get to be raised like that. So we get to be, oh wow, I'm just remembering this writing I did a long time ago. It's like there's these three archetypes of the mother that projects onto the child, you are separate from me entirely and you can exist on your own and you are completely separate. The second archetype is the mother that says, I am here and connected to you at the same time. Like I am with you and I'm also separate from you. Like we can exist in both of those at the same time. And then the third being, you are with me, I am one with you. And at different times, our inner child needs different things. So again, this relationship with food, we get to be the mother that is projecting onto us. So when I was healing my relationship with food, I realized that there were all these rules that I put on myself or absorbed from the outer world that I realized I didn't actually have to commit to or consent to. And the moment I restricted and lifted those rules, I decided in that moment, I believe in myself. I trust in myself. I'm the mother speaking to my inner child. I trust you to be. I trust that you have an inner wisdom and an inner guidance system that is going to take you to exactly what you need in this lifetime. I believe that you have the inner wisdom to know what you need to eat, what you don't need to eat. So that's what we get to step into is, it's like the mother that says, yeah, absolutely. Make yourself, like, try to eat all the candy you want, baby. Like eat all the candy that you want and experiment with that. I trust you are a wise, sovereign individual. And I trust that you are going to figure out your truth with that. And I care about you and I'll be here if you have a tummy ache or you need to throw up, I'll make some chicken broth and we can balance it out after. But I'm not going to say, don't eat that, you're going to get a stomach ache. Like it's giving ourselves the opportunity to really test things out on our own and then come to our own realization and inner truth. So slightly different than attachment, but just more of like a self-trust and inner relationship with our guidance system is also what we're working on with this.
Yeah. Amazing. It's so beautiful. And I feel like that's a big part of what's lost in our modern culture is the belief that we are even worthy of trusting ourselves. Like there's kind of this attitude of like, if left to our own devices, we would sit on the couch watching TV and eating junk food until we died. Like there's not this recognition of our divinity as human beings and of like just our true potential. And what would actually kick in would likely be maybe a few days of that if you've been like, restricting yourself and disallowing and like working all the time. And like, yeah, you might have a few days on the couch, but eventually you would get sick of that and you would go out and you would do something with your life because you're a human being and that's what we are driven by. We're not these like slovenly couch potatoes that can't be trusted to do anything without willpower. So I kind of think the whole willpower thing is a little bit of a myth, especially when it comes to the feminine, because it just doesn't really get us sustainable results. It's a temporary fix. It works and can work for a while, but at what cost to your feminine energy and to your feminine body? And then what's the end game? Like, how long are you going to keep pushing yourself and restricting yourself and controlling yourself and being disciplined and showing up in order to maintain the results? We talk about this all the time. Like the results that it takes to create something are the same results that it takes to maintain it. So we want to be really aware of that. And just, we get to change the belief that we're untrustworthy, that our physical bodies can't be depended on and are like just waiting to turn on us. It's that that philosophy. It's so prevalent in our culture, but it's so far away from the truth.
So powerful. So I would like to share an example of this idea of self-nourishment and the power of this approach and feminine way in healing your relationship with food and body. As you can pick up, a lot of it is giving yourself the thing that you made off limits. And part of the wisdom and the reason that works is, as feminine beings and female bodies, we are expressions of goddess energy. And the essence of goddess energy is, I cannot be controlled. If you ever tried to control the goddess, or if anyone ever tried to control the goddess, she will do a few things. She'll either flick you off her shoulder, she'll blast you away, or she'll just completely, like, it just does not exist in her realm. It's not an option. It's not a possibility. So the idea that we try to control ourselves, we're like this kind of, it's this unhealthy father energy, to be honest. It's this unhealthy masculine energy that sometimes channels through our mothers trying to control us. But it's the unhealthy masculine that is trying to control the feminine rather than witness the feminine. And then we consent to that, or we grow up and we, as adult women, find ourselves in relationships that are controlling, or we question ourselves and think we're wrong all the time, or, all these things that can happen later on in life. So one of the keys to healing your relationship with food and body, and ultimately so many other things spiritually that unfold from that, is releasing the restriction, letting go of the control, and like, as such, you honor the goddess that you are. Before I move on, I want to say, if you are here live, feel free to share in the chat what your biggest struggles are with food, body, anything in your spiritual practice. You are welcome to share, and we can address your questions individually through the chat. So if you'd like to, you're welcome to do that. So I want to share, just on a personal level, the ways I've increased self-nurturance and self-nourishment in my life. Sarah and I did a goddess lifestyle challenge earlier in the year. I think maybe it was like the end of last year, I forget. It was so fun, but so many, basically all of the tips and tricks that we did all revolve around, how can I fill myself up with pleasure, nourishment, nurturance, relaxation, because we know that the wisdom of that is when we are filled up, when we are full as women, we can only shine. Like, we shine and emanate radiantly when we are full. When we restrict and withhold, limit our ways, our avenues to receive support and love and food, we get dull and we lose that inner and outer radiance, the true beauty that comes from a woman who is absolutely satisfied, self-satisfied, as well as satisfied from the outside, a fully nourished woman. And that could be an archetype that we actually work with, Sarah. I think that just came, that we should.
Oh my gosh.
We both did that.
Amazing.
Yeah, the fully nourished woman, the self-satisfied, like, I feel like, yeah, the truly self-nourished woman, because oh my gosh, she can just, and that's what I'm committed to. I've made a commitment to that in my life, that I do not live my life drained. And I'm committed to, like, people can fall out of my life if they're committed to a life that I have to be drained. Like, that's not, I don't consent. So you can evolve and support me to live this life, or no, thank you, because I don't consent to that life. But so a couple little, like, examples of this over the winter time. And there have been many times when I was first healing my journey, I had to intentionally binge. These are some things that we teach in Fuel, our 8-month mentoring program, ways to actually counteract the mental beliefs of I can't do this, that end up healing your relationship with food from the inside out. But so it's like Sarah was saying, sitting on the couch for 3 days and stuff, like, I had to go through a phase of balancing. And I've been in that phase in different ways for quite a while, whether it's to heal my adrenals or my body and my relationship with it. That balancing factor has shown itself in many different ways. But over this last winter, one of the ways that I nourished myself was with warm drinks. And I probably had a warm breve type drink with heavy cream, chai or latte, 1 to 2 times a day from coffee shops. And it was this, or I'd make it on my own, but I always had a warm drink with honey, sweet, warm, heavy, creamy drink. And I got to a point where, like, literally I had so many that I was like, I think I maxed out with the warm drinks. I had received the healing powers of that heavy, creamy, warm, dense the healing properties of the warm drinks. My body needed that so bad. And I gave it to my body without question, without judgment. And I received the healing, and my body came into balance. And naturally it was like, I don't really feel like a warm drink today. I probably had like 600 in the last, I don't know, or 200 in the last 100 days kind of thing. So that's the gift. That's the beauty, is like, when we were not nourished and when we were not nurtured, we've normalized not getting our needs met and going without. So we get to step into the inner mother and father archetype, overgiving ourselves what we lacked for so long, and in the end, like, normalizing it in the body and coming back up. Like, so if you are depleted for like the first 30 years of your life, then it's going to take a couple years to drink a ton of warm drinks or whatever it is, eat pizza and stay on the couch, whatever it is that you need to refill. But trusting that the moment that you actually let yourself be fully nourished and nurtured, you're going to come back to that ground zero and find that energy authentically to act and do and be in the world, and exercise and eat healthy or whatever it is. And, and sometimes it's woven into that journey as well. But so that's really the point, is that's what we're committed to getting you to, whoever is listening to this, and is getting you to a place of authentic nourishment, authentic spiritual nourishment. We're talking about, more than anything, as you can tell, we're talking about a spiritual nourishment. Yeah. And food is just like a symbol of that.
It's so beautiful that there are so many ways to fill yourself up, and food is an amazing way. And I think people, they're afraid that they're emotional eaters, or that they're eating their emotions, or that they're only filling themselves up with food. And I think that there's a little bit of a refining that needs to happen there, where we need to understand that it's absolutely okay if food is one of the ways that we fill ourselves. And there's a million other ways. So it's just really about finding what lights you up and what nourishes you and comforts you. And I can speak to what Anya was just talking about finding balance. I had to go through a time where I ate a lot of food that I had never allowed myself. I didn't work out. I rested and ate and ate and rested and rested and ate and gained weight. And, there was this part of me, even though I have so much faith, and Anya had never steered me wrong before, there was this part of me that was like, what if this never stops? What if I just keep eating and sitting on the couch and gaining weight? But like Anya just said, there is a time where you get to the space where it just stops, and your relationship with food is healed. It becomes completely effortless. You start to crave to move again. And then whatever weight you may have gained in the process just releases in whatever time, however long that looks. For me, I'm still releasing weight. I'm like probably very close to being where I'll be comfortable. But it's still happening for me. And I'm about probably 2.5 years into this. So it's different for everybody. And a lot of it's based on how depleted you were to begin with. But yeah, it's a beautiful process, and it's changed every single area of my life, from relationships to abundance to friendships to having like better boundaries than I've ever had before in my life, to I rarely drink alcohol anymore. And it wasn't something that I intentionally tried to stop doing. I just don't crave it. And when I have it, when I wanted to have it, but I probably haven't had a drink in like 6 weeks, and I haven't even thought about it. Like for me, it's something maybe I do every once in a while as like a fun social thing with friends, but it's not a part of my life anymore. And that happened completely on its own. I fall asleep I fall asleep now by 10:30 and I wake up at 6:30. That was never something that I could ever nail down before. My bedtime was all over the place. And what that really came from, this is like a deeply, deeply tuning into your body and allowing your body to lead. And then it's like the things that we try to force ourselves to do before just come effortlessly and happen as a byproduct of being so tuned in.
So powerful. So love that. And that's the thing too, because we're really working on a spiritual level, and the weight gain is like has more to do with spiritual process than the weight loss actually is a spiritual process as well. And it can happen quite instantly. Or it happens in ways that we don't. And this, what it absolutely does, whether it's instant or it takes time, it's like, it is passive. It's a receptive, passive process where you don't have to do anything to lose weight. So it's a complete paradigm shift of having to diet and exercise. And instead it's like, it just literally happens, like Sarah was saying, as a byproduct. And then, the other really important thing to look at is, as she's saying, like, this is the 2.5 years in, 2.5 years of literally transforming and healing such deep, and with myself included, eating disorders, disorderly eating and disorderly mindsets and disorderly relationship with food and body and exercise. So intense to the point of like thinking about it 90% of the day kind of thing, like for both of us. and being obsessed with being so obsessed with the subject matter itself of like that the first thing we do in the morning is lift up our shirt and look at how small our belly is, and or like literally the first thing I would do in the morning was like feel my waist, like was I skinnier today, like did I get skinny, am I still skinny, what does it look like, I have to exercise, what am I going to eat today, oh my gosh, like the level of Shakti drain and the exploitation of my spiritual and creative power. The amount of power I sacrificed for 10 years in my life early on, and probably my, some of my most vital days, like when I was a teenager and into my early 20s, some of my most vital times of life when there's so much potential energy and life force energy and creative energy, so much fertility potential there, like the amount of drain and flatness and all of that. And that's also what breaks my heart and fuels this movement every day, is it's the emotional drain that we go through as women around these things. It has less, like I could care less, like, yeah, the weight is going to be lost, but what we really what we really truly care about is like the emotional freedom, because emotional freedom is energetic freedom. And when we are not giving that emotional power over to the forces of like programming and conditioning and masculine, whatever, like talk, whatever it is, the agenda, I don't know, but when we actually can keep that energy as women, like imagine a world where women did not worry about their weight and their body image, like the amount of nourishment that would be fueled into this society is above and beyond. We would fill rivers with our Shakti power, our creativity, and our love. And that feeling of not, a big part of this is, and this is actually a really interesting way that this was all created. Like, I remember when I was a kid, my mom, I love her, but there wasn't like that nurturing feeling that I got from her necessarily, but I would feel it around other women. And I remember thinking like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to be able to give that feeling. And it was like that magical, mystical, fairy dust touch, that effervescent, bubbly energy that is Shakti, that is the spiritual. It's beautiful. And that's one of the biggest gifts that we're here to give as women. And we all have it naturally, but it gets drained and it goes away when we are not filled. Like when we don't nourish ourselves and fill our cup. So, that's a really big aspect of the movement, is replenishing women so that we're actually in the embodiment of what we were designed to be, like true nourishers for this earth, pouring our Shakti force of love, creativity, and power and beauty onto the earth, and letting it flow into all the rivers and streams and tributaries and oceans, and like thinking about all those little kids, all the little kids all over the world, like that need that mothering energy. We actually can give that. And I think that's a beautiful prayer, to call forth that Shakti power and let it rise and bubble up within us and overflow out of us, and be received by little children that are not getting that, so that they can receive that energy, whether we know them or not. Yeah. And the last thing I want to say is, in 2.5 years, like that can feel like a long time to lose weight and, to find your dream body. But when you think about, most women who have been on a weight loss journey, they can be in their 60s and still unhappy in their body. So that's like 45 years to 60 years that women can, not find that true result that they're looking for. So it's like, as when you look at 2.5 years from one side, it can be like, oh wow, 2.5 years, that's a long time. Do I want to commit to that journey? But when you look at 2.5 years to give you an entire lifetime of freedom, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, as well as the result that we desire, then it's so obvious that it's like we become willing to do whatever it takes to make it through those 2.5 years, and the bumps and the journeys and the ups and the downs, like that. It is absolutely a no-brainer. Like, we have what it takes to do it, which is what Sarah, oh my God, has so beautifully committed to, and I've watched her have so much success. So yeah.
That was amazing. I feel like that should be an activation.
Yeah, we can totally do that activation.
That's beautiful. And it is like a filled to overflowing woman is literally medicine for the world. It's exactly what we need. It's exactly what's missing, because we have been drained. We have had our power and our Shakti force drained for so long. And the whole world has suffered as a result of that, and is hungry for a return to that. But we don't get there. We get there by being filled up. We have to be the one for ourselves, and we have to pour into ourselves, and in a sense, put ourselves, not even in a sense, 100% put ourselves first, unapologetically. We have to put ourselves first. And a lot of people have resistance to that because it sounds selfish, but it is, at the end of the day, with the end result, is that the entire world benefits from a filled up woman.
So good. So yeah. I think to come to the close of this, feel free to ask a specific question if you have. This would be the time in the chat box, and we can look at it. And then, other than that, I think we'll share just a few other ways to nourish ourselves on a spiritual and energetic level. And then I think let's do the activation, because that totally just came through, and we can
okay.
Yeah. Maybe we can start and stop the recording so it can exist on its own.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
All right, so we'll just take a moment. If you have a question in the chat box, we'll get to it.
Yeah. And should we talk about the programs we have going on, in case people want to know more right now? Okay, so we do have room in our Fuel mentorship. It's an 8-month long mentorship. It comes with all of the core curriculum for feminine body beauty, and then twice a month group coaching calls, and then lifetime access to the Facebook group where you can get support throughout the program. So it's really in depth. It's 8 months long. It's very hands-on. There's a ton of support. There's, if people have questions in between calls, we support them in the Facebook group. People are supporting each other in the Facebook group. So it's this beautiful community. So we have spots open in that. We are going to be doing a money program coming this fall. I'm super excited about that. But we'll have more details on that soon. There is going to be like a free registration at a super discounted price. And then we also have just very limited number of spots available to do both of our programs and work with us one-on-one. And that's the big package for you're ready for this to be your year. You're ready for this to be the year that you change your life and turn on that, fill yourself up, heal, turn on your magnetism, and just have the whole world, drawn to you, and everything flows, and just all kinds of juicy goodness. So yeah, that's what we have going on right now. And you can book a call with me if you want to learn more, and we'll put the link somewhere in the email.
You might get it right now, Sarah, and put it in the chat.
Oh, in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that actually right now.
I'll just we can put it next to the recording too. But,
okay.
Thank you. And then in terms of goddess tips and techniques, or ways to nourish yourself as a woman and to amplify your feminine energy and to be that filled up version of yourself, warm drinks are a fun example. It's hot in summer now, but So, I mean, something yummy and sweet. I've been doing lavender lattes because lavender is like more cooling actually. So I find that that's like and it's flowery and nice, but really anything, any kind of self-care, self-nurturing activity, whether it's a bath with Epsom salts or, just essential oils. Sometimes I do Epsom salts if I want to detox, but sometimes I just need to give myself essential oils, like just add, like it doesn't always have to be detox, we can just nurture and nourish ourselves. Um, it could be as something like getting a massage or an acupuncture appointment, Reiki, or um, craniosacral. Craniosacral is so powerful because it's so gentle that it's, I always we suggest in this program, like there's different things that get you points in the feminine energy scale. And if you get like a hardcore deep tissue massage, like it's still better than nothing, but it's like not that many points on the feminine energy nourishment scale. But if you get a Swedish massage or craniosacral massage, that's like plus 10 because it's all about just feeling good and relaxing, getting yourself into parasympathetic. It's not about fixing something or getting a result. Let's see, let's just give a couple more examples, Sarah, for now. There's a lot of materials. If you follow me, I've been posting goddess stuff every day. And we have
some of my favorites are I take a bath pretty much every single night. I almost have to. It's so restorative for me. Cuddling up and watching movies or like your favorite TV show or like sleeping in late or my main things right now, but I have a lot more energy than I'm in this place of feeling like vibrantly energetic and healthy. So I've been obsessed with Pilates, going to my chiropractor, getting a massage, getting spray tans. I've just been like my self-care is on a whole different level. Listening to personal development while I give myself Reiki in the morning is one of my favorite things. But yeah, it's almost like if I'm not at work, I'm doing something to take care of myself right now. And my life is, I don't even know. Things are just happening. The energy is almost tangible. Like things are coming to me like I've never seen anything like this. I'm just in this zone of so much gratitude and so much energy and so much love. And it's because I am filled up. Like it's exactly what we're talking about. I'm so filled up and it's spilling over onto the whole rest of my life.
Exactly. And we get to be those women that are granting that lifestyle for the whole world, and setting like this is the new normal. And we're no longer meant to be drained.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for being here today for this call. We're going to do a activation next. So feel free to stay on live if you're here. And this activation is to become that filled up, overflowing, healed, fully nourished woman. So thanks for being here. And we are so grateful to be here as well.